Ladies and gents, we have got one of the biggest transfer videos we've done in a while, a major Arsenal transfer update with regards to Viktor Gyökeres' transfer release clause and Martin Zubimendi. Here we go to Arsenal, as well as Liverpool have found their Trent Alexander-Arnold replacement. Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen is wanted by the club. Loads of updates from Fabrizio Romano. I'm finally fully recovered from Norway. Tottenham are in the Europa League final, and I can't wait for that. Make sure you go down, butcher this like button. Let me know your thoughts on all the stories that we are going to cover. And we are about 50 subscribers off of 52,000. So if you haven't already, please go down and butcher that subscribe button. Then we're going to start off. There's a lot of stories to get in through, so make sure you watch the video the whole way through. We're going to start off with yesterday's news coming out from David Ornstein saying that Arsenal want to pin down, I think it was Saliba, and to pin down Martinelli and Bukayo Saka on new Arsenal contracts. Now, actually, do you know what? We're going to start with the Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen to Liverpool, and then we'll get everything done in Arsenal in one go. Liverpool are monitoring Jeremy Frimpong to be well informed on his situation. £35 million release clause, and even Fabrizio Romano has retweeted that. So it looks like they've identified him as their next right back. I think he will be a really, really good signing, providing the left back is going to be very defensive going into next season. You know, it's going to be a very, very good bit of business for them. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Liverpool are well informed on Jeremy Frimpong and how the installments are defined for his 35 to 40 million euro release clause. He remains one of the main names on the shortlist to replace Trent, with Frimpong expected to be eventually keen on the move. Of course, you know, he's got his Dutch teammate there in Cody Gakpo. He's got his Dutch teammate there in Virgil van Dijk, and he's also got a Dutch manager there in Arne Slot. So, you know, been a very, very good player for Bayer Leverkusen, part of that unbeaten team that won the German Cup and the Bundesliga title. But obviously, Liverpool are a bigger football club. They're more attractive. And it's very, very likely that if Liverpool trigger the release clause, he will end up being a Liverpool player. Now, the big news coming out from today, here we go. Arsenal deal to sign Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. Here we go. Zubimendi has now verbally agreed to sign a long-term deal, so formal steps must follow soon. Arsenal trigger his 60 million euro release clause. Zubi ready to become the first signing of the new season. And you think now, you know, he's got his Spanish teammate there alongside, you know, his centre midfield partner at Real Sociedad in Mikel Merino, partnered up with Martin Zubimendi. For me, this is the replacement, long-term replacement for Jorginho. You look at their midfield options now in Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, Martin Zubimendi. You got depth there in those three positions. I still do think they need a creative midfielder, but, you know, for all the bad news Arsenal have had this week and dropping out the Champions League and having to give Liverpool tomorrow a guard of honour, this is some positive news for Arsenal fans. You know, what will happen, you know, in terms of Martin Zubimendi, I think he'll give a lot more control and a lot more balance in that Arsenal midfield. And I think that he will be a really good signing. Arsenal have reached an agreement in principle with Martin Zubimendi to join the club this summer. Arsenal have been optimistic for quite some time that Zubimendi will join, with the deal now only awaiting formalisation. That's coming out from Ben Jacobs. So he is going to be the first signing going into next season. You know, they're going to trigger his £60 million release clause. Now, Sami Mokbel has said the appointment of Andrea Berta has resulted in Viktor Gyökeres stock rising, with sources in recent weeks indicating there is considerable internal backing for the move, despite much of the groundwork having already been done on the deal for Benjamin Sesko. Both players have release clauses, but the indication are their clubs are willing to negotiate lower fees at this stage. Sources suggest that Gyokeres is the most economical signing of the two. Now, you bring in Martin Zubimendi, you bring in Viktor Gyökeres, you bring in Nico Williams. Arsenal are pretty much there in terms of a squad that can go and win a league title. What let them down at the end of this season was goals. What let them down at the end of this season was firepower from that front line. Of course, you're going to get injuries. Isak has been injured this season. Martin Odegaard's been injured this season. You know, that is going to be the main signing. They get him over the line. For me, that's the difference between winning the league and not. Now, the other striker they've been heavily linked to is, of course, Alexander Isak. And Alexander Isak is at the top of Mikel Arteta's wish list with a move for the player, almost universal backing from those behind the scenes as well. Well-placed sources have told BBC Sport that Isak would be open to a move to London. There is an acknowledgement that Arsenal, that the signing is that would wipe out the majority of their budget. With the positions to strengthen, a deal may be unlikely, but Arsenal have not closed the door on a move just yet. I personally think this game tomorrow between Newcastle United and Chelsea is the game changer in this deal, because if Newcastle United do get Champions League football again, it's going to be very, very difficult for Arsenal to go in there and offer the 150, 120 million pounds. And you look at how tight this top five race is, there's only goal difference separating Arsenal and Chelsea. But if they win, if Chelsea win or Newcastle win, it's an absolutely massive, massive game. Now, of course, Chelsea progressed through to the Conference League final against Real Betis, where they got to face him in Anthony. You know, Newcastle United, only one win in their last 3 games, but 3 wins in their last 5. They, of course, did lose in there as well. They have to go out there and get the 3 points, just as well as Chelsea do. Now, Nottingham Forest will probably be hoping for a draw in that game, and hopefully they can get the win there so they can climb back into the top 4. And if Man City, I do think they will beat Southampton today. So if they win today, I'm pretty sure they cement their top 4 Champions League football. But that entire Alexander Isak deal for me is based on whether or not Newcastle United do get Champions League football. I honestly believe that. Looking at the transfer window, I do still think Newcastle United will hang on to Alexander Isak. Now, Viktor Gyökeres, according to Alex Crook, coming out from talkSPORT, has said Arsenal would prioritise. Viktor Gyökeres would prioritise a move to join Arsenal over Manchester United this summer. talkSPORT understands Arsenal are also understood to be frontrunners and confident of signing Gyokeres, but when the summer transfer window opens. Now, look, I think personally, Viktor Gyökeres will be an Arsenal player, and that will be the groundwork laid into next season if they have Zubimendi and Gyokeres. You look at what's been happening so far. We're not even in the transfer window. Man United are trying to sign Cunha. You've got plenty of different players out there that are at this moment in time linked with Arsenal. You've also got Mikel Arteta coming out there speaking about deals for the club are planning on getting Saliba to sign a new contract. David Ornstein come out yesterday and said Arsenal have opened talks with William Saliba about a new contract, with Andrea Berta holding discussions with the players' camp. The club have not yet made an offer, but that will come in due course as they progress discussions and pursue an agreement. And getting him to sign a new contract is just as important as signing Viktor Gyökeres, in my opinion, because Real Madrid are sniffing, and Real Madrid have done this with Kylian Mbappe. They've done this with Jude Bellingham, and they are prepared to play the long game and wait to get their man. But if Arsenal go and pin him down to an extra 2 years on his deal with maybe a wage increase on that, it's very, very difficult for Real Madrid to come in. They'd have to pay well over £100 million to get him in a Real Madrid shirt. Now, look, there's a lot of transfer stories out there right now. Some are saying that, at this moment in time, that Real Madrid are prepared to wait. I personally think if they are going to sign him, it will be on a free transfer. But I do also think he may also sign a new contract extension at Arsenal. Manchester United have opened up talks to sign Tom Heaton over a new deal next season. That'll obviously he helps out massively with the homegrown situation. Concrete discussions to follow for Heaton to stay as third goalkeeper until June 2026. The coaching staff pushed for the decision as they're delighted also with these help to young players. And also Man United are looking at Milinkovic-Savic, the goalkeeper in Italy as well. So yeah, there's a lot to get through. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all soon.